Well, good evening and welcome to our broadcast tonight. It is night 6 of Sukkot already. And, you know, we've talked a lot throughout the times we've had Sukkot over the years about the concept of Ushpizin. You know, there's that film that we've watched. We got to watch it again, and it's been a long time since we've watched it. But basically, there's this concept in Jewish thinking that in the Sukkah, we're all family. And it is customary to invite guests into your Sukkah. Whenever you're having Sukkot, somebody shows up at the door, you invite them in. Everybody is family, everybody is welcome, everybody is invited. And so tonight, rather than having someone from amongst us that's giving a message tonight, we have guests all the way from Haiti and from Minnesota that are with us to give the message. From Haiti Empowered, I'm going to introduce Pete. Welcome, Pete.
Well, thank you. And I remember last time I was here, I had a message about neighbors and who's your neighbor. And then you were very clear, Donna, saying, we're not neighbors, we're family. And I haven't forgotten that. I have not forgotten. We are blessed tonight to have with us from Haiti, Pastor Bazile and his wife. Junior, his son, was with us last night. He had to go back to work. But they have not been really out of Haiti since 2019. Was the last time. And so all the challenges, and people keep saying, when can we go back? When can we do Haiti? And we go, soon, just like when will Christ be back? Soon, right? But not yet. And so finally he was able to get through some of the danger, get to Port-au-Prince, come to us. He's here in Massachusetts and be coming into Minnesota. And I'd just like him to come up for a moment and just say hello and greetings. He's not going to speak very long because I doubt I can translate very long. But I just wanted to say hi, you know, all the way from Haiti. And he's just been a blessing. We went to an event last night, and you know, we're talking about the organization, want to say hi to everybody, and there's not anybody that wants to talk to me. They all want a photo with Pastor Bazile and his wife. And that's good, because he was the star of the show. So if you could just say hello, please.
Bonsoir à tout le monde, nous saluons nous et sorti à Haïti, nous sommes bien contents pour être capables ensemble avec nous, avec madame là après-midi. God bless you.
Yeah. and usually he's not that shy, so he's being kind to me.
He spoke to me very well.
Yeah. Thank you. And they're tired. We've got them in we're running here and there and up the stairs and down. We were just at Koopman Lumber, and they don't have any elevators, so 18 stairs, and they're really narrow ones. And Madame Bazile made it up. She was a trooper. And I'm like, okay, I'll try not to trip myself getting up. So I'm just going to grab something here and just give me 1 second. So I was kind of trying to think about what I wanted for the theme for these weekend events. And then I thought, well, how can I say even more about that when I come to a church like this? I mean, it just, as soon as you come in, you just get a sense that there's excitement, there's energy. There isn't a sense of, uh-oh, I wonder what's going to happen. I'm fearful. It's like, no, there's no fear here. Let's just go forward. And so whenever you're ready with the video, I'd like to show you a short compilation. And when you see it, I want you to look for something, because it's one thing to have some schools and food and medicine. That's so important. But what if you can have a whole community that starts focusing on what God can provide and how they can change that community? So now when that kid is going to school and learning, and he's eating and getting medicine, he's also in an environment that allows them to be successful, and then they're going to raise a family. And one of the things we looked at, we just had a count, 10% of our staff in Haiti went through the schools. Now, you do the math, and we're coming up on a 20-year anniversary, and the first class is only, 70 kids, I think, 2 classes. And so that generation now has graduated. Some are working for us. Some have started families. I'm getting pictures. I have a 1-year-old. I have a 2-year-old kid. And so now you think about the generational change. Junior had not been back to see his family for 8 years. He went to New York. He's working on paralegal. And God just kind of, he never went away, he went away from God, but God kind of reeled him in and said, hey, you should interpret. You should get more involved. And so we went back to Haiti, and I said, what do you think, as we got into Port-au-Prince, about Haiti? He says, nothing's changed. And then we got into Leogan. I said, what do you think? I don't recognize it. He just said, there's more churches, there's this market, there's these lights, there's a different, I don't see all the voodoo places that we saw before. And it was just, you could just see him going, this place has changed. Now I see the vision of what was there. Okay? And so what I'm going to do just briefly tonight is I want to encourage, but of course I want to challenge too. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know, but I hope you walk away with a little bit different perspective, which is usually what God does. We're not always coming up with something brand new, because there's nothing new under the sun. We're not making up something out of Scripture, right? We've read the Scripture. But there's always maybe some new way that God can say, here's what I really want you to think about. And I want you to think about this apple. And this apple has potential. I'm tempted to take a bite right now. It would taste very good. But the potential of this apple is not the few bites I would have and the core I throw away. It's the seeds in this apple. And the seeds that could create a tree with a bunch of apples, with a bunch more seeds, right? And you guys get the idea. And that's kind of what was on my mind, is a theme saying, your fruit is on someone else's tree. And it was kind of, when I was thinking about that, I just felt kind of a own personal conviction. It's like, well, God, you said we need to be fruitful. You're going to cut our tree down, right? We're just in trouble. And so I got to be fruitful. And all of a sudden it was about, what am I doing? What is my fruit? Have I got enough fruit? And of course, that's not at all what it's about. But if I've got fruit on someone else's tree, now I've got something happening, right? And so that's what I'm thinking. I want to give you just a few short stories. I know everyone's interested in Haiti, and we love Haiti. We've got Haiti right here. But there's a whole world of people trying to work through things. And so one of the things I do on Friday night, and it's not about me, is that we go out on the streets of Minneapolis, just like any other big city. They got their problems. They got gangs and homeless. And we had set up a table, and this guy comes up after about 15, 20 minutes, and he says, I just appreciate what you guys are doing. And you just, you never know, because they're like, well, just give me some food, give me whatever, and they're just going. But he was just so appreciative. He says, I just wish that I was worth something and that I could help too. And you just look, and it's sort of like, you don't know what to say. Well, yeah, of course you're worth something, but you want to just say something and throw away some term. So of course you matter. Well, that's just a throwaway, right? And I just said, well, you know what? I think you can. We just got to figure out what that is. And he says, you know what? And he paused. He reached in his pocket, and he pulled out two bills, a $1 bill and a $5 bill. And he says, Pete, I want you to take this $5 bill, and I want to be a part of doing something. And my mental thing said, absolutely not. I can't take who am I to take a homeless guy's money? That's just, it's wrong. And God says, no, it's not. Why would you hold a blessing from this man? And so right away, God convicted him and says, you grab that $5 bill and get in shape, right? And so he gave me that $5, and you should have seen the smile on his face. He just walked away, and he just had faith. He didn't know. He just had faith that $5 out of $6 he gave was going to do something. So now I've got the whole night figuring out, what am I supposed to do with this $5 bill? I can't go home and put it in my pocket, right? And so I'm praying, God, is that the one? Nope. Is this the one? Nope. And we're getting time where we have to close up, because we go back and do kind of a recap, and we're closing up, and I go, I've got to give this $5 to somebody. God, you got to come through. And this lady comes up with this cart with this little baby. She's homeless. All she's got is some clothes and stuff tucked around this little baby. And she says, can someone help? And I says, you know what? We can give you some help that lasts longer than some food, some whatever, but you also have a need. And someone already came and gave to you, Christ, and someone already came and gave some money. Here's $5. Now, was that going to feed her for the next week? No. But you should have seen the look on her face when she heard that there's somebody and something that can be eternal, and someone can meet my needs immediately, and someone already pre-gave for me. If you could have seen the look on her face, it was priceless. And so I shouldn't have got to enjoy that. I wish The man that gave me the $5 could have seen it, but many times we don't see that fruit because it's on someone else's tree, right? One other story, it's not $5, it's $20, okay? So I'm going out, we're rushing, right? We got to get to the airport as always, we're in a hurry, right? We had a great meal here and a great service. And as I'm getting into the vehicle, this young man comes over and says, hey, hold on, before you go, I want you to have this $20. It was one of the young gentlemen that you had down here at this meal. He says, I've just been thinking about it. I just want to give you $20. Now, I don't know, maybe his dad's a millionaire. I doubt it. But, I mean, he'd been thinking about it and pondering, and this church and the people around him had put him in a position of saying, I need to be giving and doing what I can. So you didn't know it, but you put fruit on that young man's tree, and then he put fruit in Haiti. And you don't know it, right? Because you didn't know. I just driving off, I've got 20, you have no idea. But your faithfulness, that fruit kept going. So I think you guys get the general idea. We tend to worry about our own tree. If it's our tree, my fruit, my tree, stay off of my tree, don't offend me, right? And no, it doesn't happen here, but other people, yeah. So what is good fruit? What is it good for? And you can read in Matthew, it says, beware the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're wolves. You will know them by their fruit, right? Sometimes they sound good. Sometimes it sounds good. It says, grapes are not gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles. So every good tree bears good fruit. Not some, every good tree. But the bad tree bears bad fruit. And a good tree cannot produce bad fruit, nor can a bad tree produce good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown in the fire, so then you will know them by their fruits. And I read that with a new thinking of saying, so I will know my fruit, if it's good, by the fruit on somebody else. So when I'm talking to somebody, I've got a mentor, I've got kids, whatever, maybe the true test of my fruit is evaluating the fruit on their tree. Now, I'm not responsible for everything they do, but it's a good test to say, you know, am I leading well? Am I doing well? So just a thought. So I'm going to suggest that remembering is like a seed. And I know you guys are in the middle of some celebrations. And when you think about the days of awe, and then you think about the lessons of judgment, a lot of times God said, hey, I've already given you these memories of what I did in Egypt. I've given you these memories. I don't need to help you cross the River Jordan every single year, because that memory is got a purpose too. And so that seed keeps giving, and you tell everybody around, and then they tell their generation, and that seed of remembering is very important. A lot of times we say, well, that's kind of antiquated, and we're living today. No, that memory is there for a purpose, okay? And so passing down the truths and provision of God is what he actually intended, I think. It wasn't for us to just, hey, I've got all these memories, I've got all this stuff, and, you know, you get to be 65 and look at all my memories and the positive things that happen. No, it's about, am I leaving a hole when I leave, or am I leaving a mountain for someone else to leap off to the next level? A lot of people, I just want to be missed and I want to leave a hole. It's like, do you? You know, I prefer to leave a mountain for somebody, a legacy. And so in Psalms 43, I just want to read this for you. As a deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God. My soul thirsts for God, the living God. Where can I meet God? My tears have been my food day and night. While people say to me, where is your God? Right? Sometimes even today you say, where is your God? What's going on with the country? What's going on in Israel? Where is your God? Well, I'll tell you. It says, these things I remember as I pour out my soul. I used to go to the house of God under the protection of the Mighty One with shouts of joy and praise. Right? David had a point where everything was going really well for him. Why, my soul, are you downcast? Now he's giving himself a lecture. He says, what are you so depressed for? Come on, start remembering. Why so disturbed within me? Put your hope in God. For I will yet praise him, my Savior, my God. My soul is downcast within me. Therefore, I will remember. I'll remember you from the land of Jordan, from the heights of Ron, from the mounts of Mizar. And so right when things weren't going so great for him and he is questioning things and his soul is downcast, what does he say? He says, stop being downcast. You need to be happy. And the source of your happiness is remembering what God did, just like you guys are remembering what God did. So I'm just telling you how I read them, right? Another one here. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago. I will consider all of your works and meditate on your mighty deeds. I think I heard a couple remembers just in one sentence there. And then what happens at the Passover? It says, do this in remembrance of me, right? So I think it's a little biblical on there. So what about the season? I'm kind of a contemplative. I like to kind of get into engineer and think about stuff. That's just how I'm wired. You get Jody, she's more relational, and they love the pastor. I'm just more of a thinker. And I was thinking, well, what have I got in this apple? I've got one seed. No, I got multiple seeds, right? And so what do I think about multiple seeds? There's multiple chances. What happens when the tablets of the Ten Commandments came down? Moses sees what he sees. What's he do? He busts them. And that was it, right? We don't have the Ten Commandments today because Moses just had enough. Nope, he went right back up and got the second list. Because God knew it wasn't for that moment. It was for generations upon generations, a second chance. And the seeds in here are second chance. I know that not every one of these seeds will turn into an apple. But if I plant enough of them, one of them is going to make it. That's right. God will make a way even if the rocks have to cry out. Amen. Even if they do. Amen. Now, I pray they don't, but he said if they need to, they will. That's right. Multiple seeds provide second chance. I said that a lot. And the other thing it reminds me is we are not alone. You go, if I don't do this, if I don't raise enough money for Haiti Empowered, the kids won't eat. And you can just get stressed and you can't sleep. Or you can think about your church or the people that are dying or they don't know Jesus. And you go, if I don't do it, they won't. No. There's multiple seeds. God has a plan. And you're one seed that you're planting, and it will germinate. God has a plan. So sometimes we think we're the only seed. We're like a peach seed, right? And I'm kind of preaching an apple seed tonight. So if you think about you got multiple, it's not just you. You're not alone, but you're doing it together. That's important. And then I thought about trees. Jordan, you were talking about the groves of olives. Is there one tree full of olives and that's it, all the rest are barren? No, there's trees with olives as far as you can see. And we know that every one of those trees has a different river and a different sun, right? No. They're all going off to the same water source, and they're all getting the same sun for the photosynthesis. And you go, oh, so the fruit I'm putting on your tree, the fruit you put on this tree, the one you did this, every one of those trees has got the same source of water and the same sun. No pun intended. Right? We have the same sun. Now, we might be our own tree, and God's doing a different work based on what he's called us to do, but we are truly one river feeding us and one sun. So just a thought. The other nice thing I kind of mentioned before, it's not about us. And sometimes I have to remind people, you know what? You need to do what you're called to and do it the best of your ability. Pray and beware. And then you need to give it to God, because we don't save anybody. We don't transform anybody. We simply introduce them to God, right? And so I'm going to tell you just a brief Father's Day story. So, when you have a few Father's Day, it's kind of nice. You get your tie, you get your shoe, you get whatever it is. And, after about 5 years, it's like, I don't really want a Father's Day present. And I'm not that sentimental anyways, where it's like, I don't want a present. And I just thought, I'm just going to take a really big gamble. And so I've got 2 children, a son and a daughter. And I said, would you guys do me a favor and just write like 3 things that you think you got from me? And I'm hoping they come up with something, right? And I said, would you just write down 3 things that you feel are something that is a part of who you are, that you got, and it would mean a lot to me if you would do that. And as soon as I did it and walked away, I thought, oh, that was a really bad idea. Because who knows if they come up with something or what they come up with. Well, fortunately, they came up with some good things, and they're truly characters that I see in them. whether it be kind of hard work or trying to care about some people. And that was the best Father's Day present I ever got. They couldn't have spent enough money for that value because it meant that somehow they heard something. Now, there's a lot of great things I told them they don't remember. Not a one of them. So like, guys, I gave you all these great pearls of wisdom and great ideas. They don't know. But they did. 3 things landed, and so I'm okay with that. That's right. But it was just an interesting thing to say, just a check to say, has my fruit really gone somewhere, or am I just fooling myself? Right? I'm just being really honest with you guys tonight. What about the fruits of the Spirit, right? We should go back to the Bible and say, well, what about the fruits of the Spirit? And it says, well, my fruit is how many I had this and how many numbers I did that. No, I don't think so. It's a blend of saying, what have I given to somebody else, and what have I done in my character that makes a difference for somebody else? The fruits of the Spirit are not about us, they're about somebody else. And don't take my word for it, let's go through them. The Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit is love. Well, what is love for? Love myself? I'm wonderful. I deserve a new Ferrari. Is that what that love is about? I don't think so. What about joy? The number one thing when we go on Friday nights, they say, what's the number one rule? We have 3 rules, is the joy of the Lord is my strength. And they said, if you go out there with true joy, that's where we spend time in the worship before we go out, they will sense that joy. They will want to be a part of that. Just like that guy that gave me $5 says, I don't know what's going on with you guys, but I want to be a part of whatever you're doing. The joy of the Lord is for somebody else, right? Of course, we benefit from being joyful, but everyone around us. There's a kind of a story I'll tell you in a minute, what people I call joy suckers. And you've never seen anyone as a pastor, I'm sure, that's a joy sucker. But it's sort of like, oh, I'm not feeling better after my conversation with you. I can tell you that, right? What else have we got? Peace. We pray for peace, right? It says pray for peace in Israel. Pray for peace in your family. Pray for peace. Now, peace may take time, but it doesn't say give up on peace. Pray for peace, because that's what God desired for us. That's outward focused, right? Forbearance. Oh, I got to forbear. Now you're getting personal. Kindness. What is this act of kindness? And the check of, did I just do that for myself? Or did I do that for somebody that I may never know, I may never get the benefit? I get to meet 2,500 kids and we give them a stipend and whatever. But am I going to see that kid very many more times? Not likely. I'm not going to know all the struggles and the triumphs that they have. I'll hear some stories, but it doesn't matter, because if my heart is right, we just simply gave and trusted Pastor Bazile and the group to do the right thing. Goodness. We're saying kindness and goodness as well. Seems like God's repeating himself, and when he repeats himself, there's a reason, right? Faithfulness. Faithfulness, not I did good this year, and that's it, last me for a while. It's like, no, you go on forever. I talked to Pastor Bazile about, well, what about retirement? He looks at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have a concept of retirement in I-80. We just simply work until we cannot work anymore, because isn't that what God, he says, did any of the disciples, what was their retirement plan? Did they reach a certain age and kick back and say, well, you guys go ahead and do it, I'm done? They went till the final step, right? Not that I wouldn't like to retire. Don't freak out, Jody. But I mean, we really never retire from the service of God, right? Gentleness, self-control. Again, how are we? Doesn't mean that we don't speak our mind and we don't do things, but how do we do it? Are we defending us? Does God need defense? Or are we simply speaking the truth and letting that be it? And that's what happens in Haiti as well. I mean, you could have a battle and say, you are all evil, and they are practicing evil with voodoo, and you could have an attack and you're going to march on them and tell them how awful they are. They're all going to hell. You could say, we want to tell you about God, and we're going to show people, and they're flooding into Leogon now because it's actually a shining light rather than a negative place. And when they see the difference and they see that love, it doesn't mean that we agree with anything they do, any of the vilest stuff. And if we have to speak up, we will. But it's not a battle against flesh and blood. And the people see that. They go, Well, I'm being told if I don't do this, and if I believe in God, you're kicking me out of my house. I get calls frequently saying, this family is out of their house. One family, they came, and the parents want to know, what in the world are you guys teaching my kids? Right? And just like you might get here, they just hadn't understood this whole Christian thing. And the director says, well, let me tell you what we're teaching your kids. We're teaching them they have value. We're teaching them that God had a plan for them. He gets done, and the parents go, well, I'd like some of that too. They were renting from a voodoo priest, homeless. Pastor Bazile says, Pete, what are we going to do? I said, we have a church. That's where you're going to start. And what we do is we feed, we educate, whatever. The church feeds their soul. Let's take care of them. Now, for a couple of weeks, can they stay in the guest house? Of course. Right? But that whole family lost their job, lost their place to live, simply because of belief in God. But it was something that they couldn't say no to, because when they heard the news that they hadn't heard before, it changed them. Right? So I'm going to tell you just a short story. And so let me know when you get do you have the video ready? Let's do the video, and then I'm going to come and tell you a Joey Sucker story. Is that all right? Is that okay to say on the internet, Joey Suckers? Yeah. Staying healthy is not just a challenge, it's a battle against the odds. Each natural disaster leaves behind not just debris, but a wave of deadly diseases and injuries that threaten the very fabric of daily life. Imagine being a child here, where getting to school is a challenge. The fear of illness looms large over your family's future. But what if this child knew that care and support were waiting just steps away from their classroom? At Haiti Empowered, empowerment isn't just a word, it's a promise. A promise to unlock potential, to ignite futures, and to equip people eager to chart their own destiny. Through our trade schools, internships, and training programs, We equip Haitians with the skills that they need to combine their passions and their skills. Every tool given, every skill taught is a step towards increased self-sufficiency and pride. Meet St. Tange, a shining example of what it means to grow up empowered. Once a young child without enough food, St. Tange found a path to his future through Haiti Empowered. Educated and nurtured by our programs, he discovered his talent for construction and began working with our construction team, learning the trade from the bottom up. Today, St. Tange is head of construction at Haiti Empowered. He's not just a worker, he's a natural leader who inspires others with his good work. Most of the schoolrooms, solar, and walls were built under his leadership. I hope you noticed, maybe you didn't notice, that march that they did, it started at the church. They all came in, and it wasn't just the few kids in the high school, though there's 800 of them. All their families were invited. All the community was invited and said, come into the church, and they had a whole ceremony to say, this is what someone has blessed us with, and God has a purpose and a plan for you, and they were able to speak the word of God to the entire community. That community then marched with them. They got that band. I don't know where they got the trumpet. He wasn't that good. And the tuba. Who plays the tuba in the middle of Haiti with all the dust? I'm glad he didn't have that job. Right? But I mean, it is a big, big deal, that school opening up. And if you've ever seen the old school, it was a furnace, right? But God provided for that. He provided that high school. And they were excited about it. In that high school, used to be one room for trade school. Now there's 3, and it's packed. And we just don't know. There's so many kids that want to learn the trades because they can't go to Port Prince and get a degree. And some of us have gotten a degree. We're not sure what to do with that degree anyways, right? And so they're learning trades. And so you got people coming in to say, hey, I'm more middle class and I need plumbing. I need this. Great. We have someone to do it. We have a girl that just graduated from the sewing class, and she just sewed her own uniform. And she says, I want to sew for my whole class. And we go, why do you stop there? You have 2,500 kids that need uniforms. Why can't everybody that learn how to sew all these kids' uniforms? Why can't they? Right? And you see the soccer thing? That was brand new this year. And it was funny because I'm driving the car with Junior, and we're both kind of like sports, and I go, Junior, I don't see anybody play soccer. If I go to El Salvador, Honduras, they're playing soccer everywhere. We don't have any balls. We don't have any uniforms. No one is feeling happy. I said, they're not even playing dominoes anymore, which is a big deal. Right here, the slap, slap, slap of dominoes. Nothing. He just said, everyone is depressed. I said, well, this is not good. I said, we need to have a soccer league. He looked at me, a soccer league? Football. And what are you talking about? It says, we have 9 schools. There's no reason why we don't have a league all our own. We can have all the schools play, and we'll find another high school that dares play our high school. And you know what? We're going to have a soccer league. And we did. And there were so many people in the community that came out, and you saw the cheering. That's just one goal. And if I could have coached that goalie, I could have saved him. Because you don't stand on the line, you cut off the angle, right? And as soon as I saw him on that line, I go, this is not going to go well. But they didn't know, and they were getting training. But look at the joy in those kids over one goal. They weren't smiling as much before. And it just means that God cares for us even in the little things. right? And so that's a seed. Someone sent some soccer balls to those guys. MFI, which is Missionary Fellowship International, flew that stuff in. They had no idea. They were just shipping a box. Someone picked that up and handed that new jersey. And what that told that kid is that you matter. You've got a bright new jersey. You've got a brand new ball that's never been touched before. And you're going to do a soccer league. You're somebody. You should see how they posed. I mean, I haven't seen NFL players more proud than these kids. I mean, they're all doing the look and everything. That's what God intended for them, the joy. I think joy might be one of the fruits of the Spirit, right? And so, I mean, you just see that whole thing. You see the kids singing and enjoying love. You know, those benches, they never wear across. They always wear in spots because they're sitting so stinking close to each other, right? They got arms around. They're all cluster. Sometimes he says, we need more benches. I said, how can you need new benches? Well, they wore that spot out right in there in the bench. And so that bench is no good anymore, you know? And so, I mean, it's just in that world. It doesn't matter whether it's downtown in a difficult spot, whether it's in our churches, whether it's in Haiti. It's still God's people that need fruit. We need to put fruit on their tree, and they're going to put fruit on someone else's tree. We were just at, I don't think they'll mind, at Koopman Lumber, and they donated some, nice money to help us out. And we got done, and they said, could we just take a photo and just have a quick message from Pastor Bazile, because we want our employees to know what they just did. And it's a wonderful family. I just won't say more because I don't want to, say more that might embarrass them because they're just private about it. But their whole family says, we tithe. And we want to give. And now we want every one of our employees to know that you put fruit on a Haiti tree. And it was powerful. It was powerful. I'll just tell the quick story. And it's just an interesting one. You have this farmer. And I know we're not in farmland, but you guys understand. And he's sitting on his porch, and this couple drive up with their family, and they go, we're just sick and tired of the city we're living in, and we're wondering if that city down the road would be good to live in. He says, what do you think? He says, oh, I know the city well. I grew up there. Great, should we go there? He says, well, I'm not sure. Could you tell me what the city is like that you're coming from? Oh, it's terrible. There's a bunch of people gossiping. Everyone is angry at each other. There's just road rage. It's just a mess. I don't think there's anybody in this city that's any good. So what do you think about this new city? Should I go to the new city? I don't think so. I think you should probably stay where you're at because that city is full of people just like the city you're leaving. And they kind of head down, all right, and they head back home. Another group come by, and they go, we're just thinking of making a change. We're kind of excited about what God might have for us, and we're wondering about this city. We've never been to that city up here, same city. And he says, should we go there? He says, well, just a wise old guy says, I don't know. What's the city like that you came from? He says, we just had some good neighbors. People just seem to care. I was able to help some people. Some people helped me when I was down, brought some meals. It's a good city. We like living there. We're just looking for something different. He said, what do you think? Should we go there? He says, I think you should go to that city because you're going to find a bunch of people just like you. Same city. I don't know what that means. You guys have to figure that one out. So, lastly, isn't it wonderful to see a grove of trees fruitful? Not just one, not just ours. Isn't it wonderful if we could manage offenses rather than take offenses? Isn't it wonderful if we can focus on protecting somebody else's tree? And lastly, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could manage our pride and understand it's for God's glory, not ours? That's all I've got to say for you.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Pete. We've been connected with the organization for so many years, and Pastor Bazile and Madam Bazile, you're so dear to our hearts. New. How do we say love? New reme, new. Yeah. But it's so good to get these updates because oftentimes here we are sitting in the United States, and when we think of our sponsored children, we think of the people in Haiti, but we don't often know exactly the details of what's going on there and how things are going. So to see that even in the midst of all the bad stuff we hear on the news that's going on down in Haiti, that God is still working, that he's still moving, that the work is still growing, and it means a lot. And it's good to see this. It's good. It's like a breath of fresh air coming in saying, there's still hope. And like Pete said, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in this nation. And we can either get our focus on all the bad stuff, which will just lead us deeper into depression, or we can get our eyes on what is God doing and how can I come alongside of what God is doing? How can I be a part of this? And like you said, the guy who gave the $5, what is $5 in the whole scheme of things? It matters to that one person. They knew that God knew where they were. And everything that you give, every seed you sow matters to God. It matters, and you don't know how far it's going to go. It's like that principle of the twice sown seed. You give it here, and then that person gives it here, and then that person gives it. And sometimes your seed sown is just a smile. You don't know how far a smile could go, or a word of encouragement to somebody who needs to hear it. You don't know if just saying hi to that one person, you don't know what lies the enemy might be having in their mind, and they see someone noticed me, someone took, I'm not invisible, I do matter. Those things mean so much. And as we're coming through this time of Sukkot, we're talking about gaining these things to move beyond, that it's not just about us, that it's not just about, oh yeah, we're having fun, we're celebrating Sukkot, but what lessons can we take with us into the rest of the year? How can it motivate us? How can it strengthen us to go forward with our calling, to go forward with what God has called us to do, and see more lives touched and more changed? I think I had read that story a couple of weeks ago about the boy that had the principle of paying it forward. And if you pay it forward to 3 people, and then those 3 people pay it forward to 3 more people throughout the week, within a week, it's like that in the thousands of people that have been impacted by that just one act, one good deed that you do. And so that's what it's about. And Pastor and Madam Bazile started with just very little, and we remember that all the way back in the beginning.
Can I ask a favor?
Yeah.
Before we close and wrap, would you decide who? Could we have a few people just put hands on?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to pray.
As is appropriate. I don't interrupt.
No, we absolutely.
But I just
definitely will.
Could put that fruit of the Spirit on them.
Absolutely.
We go back to a different situation than they go back to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he keeps smiling. He keeps fighting, and I don't know how he does it. Mm-hmm. So when it's appropriate, if you guys could just pray.
Absolutely, we do. And even beyond, even when they go back to Haiti, we will all keep praying, nous priez pour, all the time, tout le temps. But we want to make sure that we carry that beyond this, that we keep those things in our hearts. And the people that we know, we talk about praying for people in Israel that we are close with. Well, we have these people that we're close. There's no time or distance in the Spirit. And this is a time when just like in the time when Moses' hands were growing weary in the battle, and he when his hands went down, they weren't winning the battle. And Aaron and Hur came alongside them and held up their hands. We need to come alongside each other and hold up the hands of those who are fighting the battle. 2 are better than 1. It's what Sukkot is all about, unity. It's all of us together that are going to get this done for God's purpose, for his kingdom, to see his kingdom come and his will done on earth as it is in heaven. And Leogan is just a small example of that, but what a bright light is now shining where darkness once was, where it was so wrapped up in voodoo, so taken over by the enemy. It seemed hopeless, but in the midst of that, the light began to shine, and now it's drawing others to it. Light will always overcome darkness, no matter what. And we need to keep that in mind. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for those of you who are watching on Facebook. You can also give into Haiti Empowered, was the website HaitiEmpowered.org. You can go on there. It's a good organization and ministry to give in, where you know that your money will be going to actually help the children. That's what the purpose of it is, and meeting their needs and having a part in the kingdom. So I encourage you to go check that out. We'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30. Until then, you have a blessed day. You want to come up here?